The message came just as I was showing a customer how our new perfume line worked. I'm done with you. I'm moving to Maldives with Emily. The joint account? Emptied. Ha ha. I didn't blink as I read it. My tone stayed calm while I rang up Mr. Brown's purchase. After Mr. Brown walked out, I replied simply, "Good luck. I'm Olivia, and at 33, I've just witnessed the most cowardly exit a man could make." The red flags had been flapping for a while. 2 months ago, I saw a charge from a spa he claimed he'd never visited. That night, I'd opened a separate bank account. The account he emptied only held what I left there, a decoy balance. Another ping. No point pleading. Emily and I fly out in the morning. I ignored the message, dialed my attorney. "Game on," I said. My little store, the thriving brand I'd nurtured from a single shelf to a local favorite. I grinned, imagining the stack of certified mail waiting for him in Maldives. Let him bask in his little fantasy of victory. That night, I stayed in my house, the one I inherited from Grandma, the one I never let Henry co-sign despite years of subtle pressure. One more gut decision that turned out to be pure gold. As I sorted the documents for my attorney, our wedding photo book slid out from a dusty shelf. Henry looked so different then. Before his midlife unraveling made him a parody of who he used to be. Now, his shirts clung awkwardly to his growing gut. He tried desperately to bond with interns barely out of college, tossed around slang like it made him younger. My phone buzzed nonstop. Henry clearly couldn't help himself. Every message more smug than the last. Been working on this for a while. Emily gets me. Not like you ever did. You'll survive. Maybe meet someone. More your speed. Already broke the news to my family. They agree this was inevitable. It's just how things go. I saved every message to the evidence file on my laptop. Let him keep digging. My lawyer would adore the casual confession of premeditated betrayal. BTW, flights and hotel, charged it to the joint account. Parting gift, perfect. I grabbed the phone and called the credit card provider. "This is Mrs. Harrison. I need to report unauthorized charges and close a card. Urgently." "Certainly, ma'am. Can you specify the unauthorized transactions?" 2 business class tickets to Maldives purchased this afternoon. A reservation at the Royal Orchid. Also, I'll need to revoke your husband's access to the account. Do you have evidence of this unauthorized use? I have messages from my husband confessing he used our shared credit card to plan a trip with his girlfriend, right after draining our savings. I can send them over now. Though polite, the representative's voice carried a hint of satisfaction as she reversed the charges. Henry and Emily would show up at the airport tomorrow, only to find no seats reserved and no room waiting. My phone vibrated again. "You can stay at the house until you get a smaller place." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Did he honestly believe he had a right to my grandmother's house? Was his ego now so inflated he forgot the deed was in my name alone? Another message. "I get that the shop matters to you. Let's discuss a reasonable buyout for your share." My share. Of a business I started from scratch. Funded with my own money. Managed on my own. While he dismissed it as a little pastime and whined about how late I worked, I uncorked a bottle of the good wine, the one I'd been saving for something meaningful. Tonight was more than worthy. Tomorrow, Henry would get a crash course in asset division and legal ownership. But for now, I had peace and plans to make for the life ahead. By morning, my phone lit up with an onslaught of furious messages from Henry. "What the hell did you do? Our credit card's been declined. The airline says our tickets are invalid, and the hotel says we don't have a room. Say something. I muted my phone and walked into my boutique. Fridays were always hectic, and today I had a fresh delivery of luxury handbags to display. Life doesn't stop just because your husband elopes with someone half his age and barely out of college. Near lunchtime, his mother rang. "Olivia, sweetheart, Henry has explained it all. How difficult things were, how your behavior pushed him away. He says you're retaliating now, sabotaging his trip with all this drama." I switched to speakerphone as I dressed the store window. "Did he also tell you about draining our shared savings and booking flights with our card for himself and his girlfriend?" A pause. Then, "He claims you gave him no other option, that you've been emotionally unavailable." "Mary, I have his messages. Want me to read the one where he gloats about stealing our money, or the one where he jokes about how old I am?" Another long silence. He did come off as harsh. I told him that message was uncalled for. "Thanks for reaching out, Mary. I've always respected you, but I need to follow my lawyer's advice. No contact with Henry or his family while things are underway. Legal proceedings? That fast? Goodbye, Mary." By late day, Amanda, Henry's sister, was fueling the family rumor mill through their shared circle. Henry and Emily were reportedly holed up in a no-frills motel by the airport. He attempted to use his own credit cards, but they'd been over the limit for ages. Another warning sign I hadn't ignored. My attorney phoned with news. The emergency court date was now set for Monday. Considering his own confession about draining the account and the proof of fraud, we're in a solid place to freeze everything else he might access. Has he received the paperwork? Not yet, but it'll be delivered to his current motel soon. On that note, his girlfriend's Instagram is gold. She's been documenting their entire getaway, along with some colorful digs at you. I smirked, recalling my own pile of evidence. A year's worth of shady charges, hotel stays, and messages that screamed planned affair. Another ping. "You think you've got the upper hand, but I copied every single document from the boutique. Half of it belongs to me." I sent the message straight to my lawyer. Just one more blunder in Henry's ever-expanding list of errors. Let him find out the painful way what separate ownership really means. The best revenge, sometimes, is readiness. The emergency hearing on Monday went exactly as I had envisioned. Henry arrived in a desperate attempt at youth. Skinny designer jeans clinging awkwardly, and a flashy blazer. Emily lingered outside, her fresh-faced innocence stark beneath the courthouse's unforgiving lights. My attorney laid out our evidence with precision and calm. Every document, text, and receipt was a product of months of quiet preparation. My client concedes to acting impulsively, but Mrs. Harrison's behavior has been unnecessarily strategic and retaliatory. Strategic? I'd call it careful planning, my lawyer shot back. The judge combed through my documentation. "Mr. Harrison, do you contest these findings?" the judge asked. Henry fidgeted, clearly unsettled. "So your idea of a clean break was financial deception," the judge pressed. "All joint assets are hereby frozen until the divorce is finalized." I caught Emily questioning Henry about what would happen to their Maldives getaway. His answer was drowned out by the sharp, confident echo of my heels striking the marble tiles. I walked back toward the business he had always underestimated and never respected. In the following weeks, Henry resorted to a series of increasingly frantic attempts. He alleged that opening the boutique had been his brainchild. He suddenly recalled making financial contributions in the early stages. He even went so far as to declare himself a silent partner from the very beginning, all of which were swiftly debunked by my meticulous records. "He's clearly unraveling," my lawyer observed. His girlfriend's latest posts show them cramped into her studio apartment. Turns out, life on a receptionist's paycheck isn't the dream escape he had in mind. Henry's relatives began reaching out, this time with far less judgment and much more regret. "We were clueless," Amanda confessed. "He said you were distant, suffocating, that he had no choice but to leave. But then we read his texts, how proud he was about draining your account. That's not the Henry I grew up with." His mother phoned again, this time sobbing. "What he said about your age, about finding someone fresh, it broke my heart. I raised him to be better. At least, I thought I did. I let every call go straight to voicemail. A few weeks ago, their sympathy might have mattered. Now it just felt like damage control." The boutique flourished, ironically fueled by the town's favorite scandal. Women showed up just to support me and walked out with shopping bags full. "Mine pulled the same stunt," one woman whispered, gripping a luxury clutch. Henry's texts kept coming, one moment furious, the next pleading. "You've destroyed my life. I didn't want to hurt you. You'll regret making this a war. Can't we just fix this somehow? That boutique only survived because of me." I sent every message to my lawyer without replying. Let him keep digging his own grave. Rumor had it, Emily was starting to regret her choices. Living in a cramped studio with a broke, middle-aged man wasn't quite the dream escape she'd envisioned. The thrilling age difference from their secret rendezvous now felt awkward under the weight of daily life. She was posting about toxic relationships and lessons learned just yesterday, my lawyer noted in our latest call. And today, her relationship status disappeared. I nearly pitied Henry. Nearly. But then I recalled his smug ha-ha after he boasted about draining our bank account. The effortless cruelty in his re-Henrys about my age. How he'd assumed I'd fall apart without him. What I felt wasn't sympathy. It was something else. Pride. Pride in my preparation, my calm resolve, and my ability to stay strong while he misjudged me. The final divorce hearing shattered the fantasy Henry had crafted for himself. His arrogance had vanished, replaced by visible unease. Emily was nowhere to be seen. Rumor had it she'd moved on with someone closer to her own age from work. Henry came dressed in his worn-out clothes. Seems the flashy outfits had been returned to cover what he owed. His attorney looked exhausted, likely from attempting to poke holes in the airtight financial records I'd kept. "Your Honor," Henry's lawyer made a final attempt. Even with the separate property documents, my client played a crucial emotional role in his wife's business success. "Moral support?" my lawyer interrupted. "You mean these messages calling her business a little shop? Or these posts mocking it as just a hobby?" The judge didn't need to hear another word. The final ruling echoed every step of my preparation. I kept my house, my boutique, and everything I had rightfully protected. Henry got his belongings and a car worth less than the debt attached to it. "You've ruined me," he spat as we walked out. "No, Henry, you did that all on your own. I just made sure you couldn't destroy me too." His mother was waiting outside, keys in hand, ready to take him back to her place, his new home. At 45, the irony of his return to his childhood bedroom wasn't lost on anyone. The man who ridiculed my age now slept beneath childhood posters, while I thrived in the business he dismissed. "You set this all up," he accused. "You saw this coming." "No, I just stayed alert. And unlike you, I knew how important it was to document everything." His mother stepped in. "Enough, Henry. You've humiliated yourself more than enough." As they walked off, I could hear her lay into him. "What were you thinking? A 20-year-old draining bank accounts, sending vile messages." I watched them fade into the lot, and all I felt was peace. Henry thought that final text would be the last word in our story, but all it did was trigger everything I'd prepared for. My phone lit up, not with desperate messages from Henry, but with a steady stream of boutique order notifications. Life was unfolding exactly as I'd built it, not as Henry had once assumed it would. Half a year after the divorce papers were signed, my boutique proudly opened its second branch. The irony was sharp. Henry was scrambling to restart his life, while the little shop he once mocked was booming. I'd grown the team with 3 new hires and launched an e-commerce site that was now attracting customers from all over the country. Word of Henry's downfall filtered through mutual friends. He had turned to dating apps, only to discover that women his age had little interest in a man nearing 50 who still lived with his parents. Younger women, already warned by workplace rumors of his antics, kept their distance. Emily, it turned out, had warned her circle, complete with screenshots of Henry's cringeworthy pleas for another chance. His career had taken a hit. HR had opened an inquiry into his workplace romance, ending with a formal write-up in his file. The promotion he'd anticipated was awarded to someone more professional, someone without a track record of inappropriate office flings. He'd even tried to cry age discrimination, Amanda said, during a surprise drop-in at my boutique. He swears HR punished him for dating a younger woman, she smirked. They just filed the complaint with the rest. I didn't expect his sister to walk into my store, but the look on her face said everything. Henry had burned too many bridges, even with his own blood. "We were wrong not to back you in the beginning," she confessed, brushing her fingers along a silk scarf. "He really sold us the victim story, but after seeing how he behaved, it's embarrassing that we ever took his side." My attorney gave regular updates about Henry's ongoing and consistently rejected attempts to reopen the divorce settlement. Every plea thrown out, thanks to the mountain of proof against him. She chuckled as she told me he'd claimed his text about draining the account was a joke. The judge looked at him and asked, "Does adding a haha suddenly make theft legal?" The boutique's rise earned me more than just profits. It brought recognition. Business publications wanted to highlight me as a smart entrepreneur, not a woman scorned. Henry's mother called occasionally, usually after he'd done something particularly self-destructive. He'd tried online gambling, hoping for a quick fix to his financial problems. He'd thrown his money into a pyramid scheme, lured by the promise of easy money. Every desperate attempt to reclaim his old lifestyle only pulled him further into chaos. "I don't know where we failed him," she said, with a weary sigh on the phone. "We told him we'd help him start over, if he owned up to his mistakes," she continued. "But he's still pointing fingers. At you, Emily, his employer, even the judge." I listened with courtesy, but made sure to keep my emotional boundaries intact. Their family issues were no longer my concern. I had moved on, focused on launching a third boutique and branching into high-end accessories. The only trace of Henry left in my life was a framed screenshot on my office wall. His last message, before I blocked him: "Enjoy your little shop. It'll give you something to do in your twilight years." Beneath it sat my newest award, a quiet reminder that the sweetest revenge is thriving without needing anyone's approval. A year post-divorce, I celebrated the grand opening of my third store. The press showed up, not for a scandal, but to spotlight a thriving entrepreneur growing her empire. Henry's betrayal had faded into background noise, a minor detail in a far greater story. Mid-event, Emily arrived unannounced. She seemed younger somehow, or maybe it was just me, standing taller than ever. She fidgeted nervously, gripping her handbag like armor. "I need to apologize," she murmured. "I believed all of it, that you were cold, demanding, unsupportive. But then I saw him use the same tricks on me when things fell apart. I kept adjusting the row of designer sunglasses, not missing a beat. Those weren't dreams, Emily. They were ways to run from accountability. I realize that now," she said after a pause. "After you froze the accounts, he tried moving in. Thought crashing at my tiny apartment was just a short-term thing. After 2 weeks of him whining about my tiny closet and hinting I should get a loan for a bigger place, I finally understood what you meant. Those weren't dreams, they were just ways to avoid real life." I couldn't help but laugh. "Let me guess. Grand visions? Zero funding?" "Exactly. Everything was just around the corner. As soon as the investments paid off, the promotion came through, or crypto magically soared." She sighed. "Now I'm seeing someone my age. We've got student debt and a tiny place, but it's honest, and it's ours." Once she left, my assistant manager leaned in and asked, "Was that the girlfriend?" "No," I said. "Just another woman who figured out the same lesson I had to learn." The boutique had grown into something more than a livelihood. It represented freedom, strength, and the rewards of foresight. Henry's mother reached out one final time, not to talk about him, but to express her gratitude. "You taught our family something we should have learned long ago," she said. "That tolerating cruelty is not the same as kindness." Henry's still under our roof, still pointing fingers, but we've stopped making excuses for him. That's what you left with us, a clearer view of the line between helping and enabling. Her words stayed with me as I reviewed the blueprints for boutique number 4. Henry had tried to reduce me, to swap me for someone younger, and walk away with half of what I'd worked so hard to build. Instead, he had unknowingly fueled my growth, made me more resilient, more accomplished. My phone lit up with a message from my attorney. Henry had filed yet another motion to challenge the divorce terms. The judge dismissed it on the spot and ordered him to cover all legal fees. "Thought that might make your day," the message read. I smiled, imagining him sulking in his childhood room, still fighting to rewrite an ending sealed the day he misjudged me. Sometimes revenge isn't retaliation, it's reinvention. 2 years after Henry's cutting message, I was invited to be the keynote speaker at a women's entrepreneurship summit. The theme wasn't heartbreak or divorce. It was about scaling and safeguarding a thriving business. My story had transformed from a warning to a beacon of inspiration. During the Q&A, someone asked how to draw the line between business and personal finances. "My husband says I'm overthinking it, that marriage is about total unity." My ex said that too, until he demanded half my company during the divorce. Listen to your gut. Safeguarding yourself isn't being suspicious, it's being smart. The boutique had blossomed into 5 thriving locations, each outpacing the one before it. The little shop Henry once ridiculed now employed 30 staff members and had graced the pages of national publications. Friends mentioned Henry had finally left his parents' house, settling into a cramped garage apartment. He'd accepted a pay cut with a new job after his previous role was eliminated in a company restructure. His dating profile still claimed he was young at heart, though his picture hadn't aged quite as well. Ironically, Emily had become a loyal shopper at my first boutique. She earned a business degree and launched her own social media consulting firm. "You inspired me," she once said. "You showed me that women can build something real instead of chasing hollow dreams." I kept Henry's bitter message framed in my office, not as a wound, but a milestone. Just beneath it hung a sign: "Success is the best revenge." At the 5-year anniversary of my original boutique, I stood before my team and our loyal patrons. What once was a modest little shop had become the flagship of a growing empire. Henry's mother showed up, even without an invitation. She waited until the crowd had dispersed before walking over. "I ran into Henry yesterday," she said, adjusting the designer dress she'd purchased from my boutique. "He was reminiscing about his glory days, the life he could have had. But he still doesn't get it. He didn't lose everything in the divorce. He gave it up." I remembered that message. His cold cruelty, his belief that I'd fall apart without him, that I'd beg and break just to confirm his warped expectations. Instead, I built something even stronger. Every boutique I opened stood as proof of what women could accomplish when they stopped shrinking for insecure men. The young sales associate I'd recently hired walked over to ask about the new inventory system I'd introduced. While explaining the process, I happened to catch my reflection in the boutique's front window. I saw what Henry never could 5 years ago. Not a woman aging, but one evolving, wiser, tougher, and thriving. What he meant as a final blow became a fresh start, not just for me, but for every woman who saw herself in my story and realized she was worth more than someone else's midlife breakdown.